My partner has recently become uninterested in sex due to a past A. How can I help? I, 22-year-old male, and my girlfriend, 23-year-old female, have been together for 4 years. In the first 3 years, we had a pretty active sex life. At the start of our relationship, my girlfriend told me that she had been a victim of sexual assault in previous relationships. I treaded cautiously and only let her make the first moves on me. We had a lot of sex that she initiated, but 5 months in, she said she preferred if I did most of the initiating. So since that point, I've done 90% of the initiating, and until about a year ago, she responded well to most of my attempts. About a year ago, she started denying all of my advances. She always just told me that her drive randomly dropped off. So for the last year or so, we've only been having sex around once a month, maybe a little less. Around 3 months ago, she initiated sex with me, but once I got her clothes off, she became completely uninterested. She just laid on the bed lifeless, so I asked if she wanted her clothes back on, and she had a panic attack. She had trouble breathing and snatched her clothes away from me. She also told me that I was overstimulating her too much. So from that point on, I told her that I think it would be best if we just took a break from anything sexual for a while. We haven't had sex or any sexual interaction since that moment. She later revealed that the real reason her drive lowered was because her past sexual assault had been messing with her mentally again. So, what are some ways I can help me and my girlfriend out? Sex means a lot to me, and it's difficult for me to be in a relationship where I can't have sex with my partner, but I also respect my girlfriend, and I want to be able to let her heal. Is there anything I can do to be there for her? Or is there anything that I can do to help her? Is there anything I can do to help myself with a huge lack of intimacy for so long? It's crucial for her to work through her trauma with the help of a professional therapist, someone who isn't involved in her sex life. This situation is incredibly tough and will undoubtedly strain the relationship, especially regarding intimacy. All you can do is support her and decide if you can handle the ups and downs while she works on her issues. It's completely understandable if it's too much for you, so being honest with yourself and with her is essential. What caused a confusing rejection from a friend when I asked for a date? Last week, I asked a close friend on a date and received a super confusing rejection, which has left me seriously questioning my ability to read people and judge attraction. So we've known each other for about 6 years, and in truth, I couldn't stand her for the first 2. Eventually, we became friends and have grown very close in the last 6 months or so. We've both been in relationships almost the whole time we've known each other, but to be honest, I did start to think of her as more than a friend about 3 years ago while in my last relationship. I quickly shut down those thoughts, and it hasn't been a thought or feeling until very recently. I split with my ex a few months ago and told my friend, whose first reaction was an almost excited smile. I thought it was odd but didn't think any more of it. Given that we were both single, we started hanging out a bit more, mainly as a way to pass the time. About a month ago, she asked me out of nowhere if I thought we could have sex. I answered honestly that I don't really do one-offs, and we left it there with me thinking it was an odd but innocent question, and I laughed it off. A few weeks ago, we had a really fun and relaxed hangout, and it struck me that I'd like to take things a bit further with her. I didn't mention anything, kept it entirely to myself, and just assumed she wouldn't feel the same way, so I quickly buried it. A couple of weeks ago, we were hanging out again and she flat out asked me if I'd ever thought of dating her. I answered honestly, told her about the 2 occasions I had briefly considered it, and said I hadn't said anything because I thought the answer would be no, and it could get awkward since we're friends. She told me that it wouldn't necessarily be like that, and we spent the rest of the evening flirting like 2 people trying to figure out the other's thoughts without giving too much away. I hope that makes sense. And asking what the other might say in subtle, non-obvious ways. Looking back on it the next day, it was super obvious there was interest there just from the flirting, and even without the questions she asked. I get home to a message saying she didn't want to leave, that our friendship is in a really good place, and that I should ask a direct question as she didn't think it wouldn't go wrong. 2 days later, I was super busy. I asked for a date, thinking the signs were all there, and she all but asked me to offer a date. I'm super confused by the subsequent rejection message, which basically read, she told me she was surprised I'd asked. She had a great time and feels super comfortable with me. That it's not a good time for her to date, not because I don't like you or see myself with you, but because she cares about me and our friendship. And she shouldn't be dating as she doesn't know what to do with herself. She doesn't want to start something when she's not sure where it will go. Could go well, could go badly, i.e. she's okay with that with random dates, etc., but not with me. Not ready for it, not just yet, and at the moment we should stay friends. She said she has a habit of hurting people and feels bad after I opened up. I can't do it just yet. I'm super confused and wish she'd sent a one-word no-show, so I guess my question is, what the heck happened in 2 days to turn a 99% yes into a 50-50 no? I hope I'm not alone in reading this in two ways. She's letting me down gently, or she really isn't in a place to date but may consider it later. I find it really hard to believe I misread so many signals and signs, but I also know that hanging on is likely to lead to heartache. The other question is, how do I handle it? I'm concerned that I'll mess up the handling of it. Please give me your thoughts. Honestly, it kind of sounds like you both struggle with communication. She is also communicating poorly and being wishy-washy. You are interested and want to date her, but in two separate instances where she directly asked you about intimacy or dating, you turned her down or gave waffling answers. I think next time you're in person with her, just tell her directly that you didn't mean to give her mixed signals and that you are genuinely interested in seeing if there's anything between you romantically. My spouse told me that he told his friends I grew up in a white trash area and is surprised I'm upset. What should I do? This incident occurred last Friday night when we were out at a bar with some friends. It was a karaoke bar, and I'd been on stage singing a country song while the rest of the group was still at the table. Apparently there was a moment during the song when my husband said, "My wife has the most country essence out of all the women here tonight." When asked if he meant I grew up on a farm, he replied with, "No, she grew up in a pretty white trash area, not that she's white trash." He informed me of this tonight while we were discussing a country song I had sung at the bar several months ago. When I started crying, he realized he had made a terrible mistake. This isn't the first time he has casually joked about me to his work friends and then told me afterward as if it wouldn't be something to be upset over. The last time he did it, he had made a joke at work and used me as a scapegoat, saying, "Well, you know guys, my wife is part Native American, so it's okay if I say this." One of his friends then replied and said, "Your wife is literally whiter than you," to which all the guys in his shop laughed, including him. I've only recently discovered this part of my family in the past year since my dad passed away. He made fun of me in front of his co-workers shortly after I had shared this with him, which wasn't something I was openly discussing. After I started crying, he apologized and said he didn't mean it as an insult and clarified that he didn't think I was white trash. He went on to explain that in his family, they didn't view white trash as an insult and all proudly claimed to be rednecks, hillbillies, etc. The issue is he grew up middle class, possibly upper middle class, and did not experience poverty. So he has never been called any of these names in a derogatory manner. On the other hand, I have. My family relied on food stamps and welfare throughout my life. We struggled to afford basic necessities like clothes, shoes, and hygiene products. The white trash comment hurt me deeply because, to others, I am considered white trash. When I tried to explain this to him, it seemed to go in one ear and out the other. I told him directly that he knew it was an insult to say, I grew up in a white trash area because he had clarified to his friends that I wasn't white trash. He was aware that it was hurtful, which is why he didn't mention it until a week later. I feel embarrassed that he said this to all his friends because we spent several more hours with them that night, and I fear they may now look down on me. I am deeply hurt by this, and I know it will take time to move on from it. Being called derogatory names by people throughout your life is not easy to handle. Growing up in a rough situation can really build resilience, and it sounds like a lot of people can relate to that struggle. It's tough when people judge based on where you come from, especially when it comes from someone who is supposed to be your partner. Everyone deserves dignity and respect, especially from those closest to them. If a partner can't offer a sincere apology and support, it might be time to rethink that relationship. My partner recorded me without my consent while we were intimate and lied about it. Am I overreacting? What should I do? We have only been together for a few months. After a few months, we started getting sexually active. Then one time, while doing it, he was on his phone and started filming it. I asked him politely if he was filming it. At first, he was hesitant and lied, but then, after I asked a few more times, he finally admitted that he was filming it. I told him that I wasn't comfortable being filmed like that, so I asked him to delete it. He obeyed and deleted it, but I didn't look at his phone to see if he really deleted it because I trusted him. A few weeks had passed after the incident. I discovered that he still hadn't deleted the video. I asked him politely if I could borrow his phone because I was bored. Then while going through his phone, playing games, and looking at his gallery, I saw that the video was still there. I saw this album in his gallery that has a password before you could open it. I got mad. I confronted him about it, and he immediately said that he doesn't even watch the video. That wasn't my point though. My concern was I am not comfortable with that video even existing. He had the time to transfer the video to a secured album even when he told me that he had already deleted it. He must have done this when we weren't together. That means that he could have watched the video again. The video which he filmed without my consent, which he lied about filming it, which he also lied about deleting it. How could he face me for weeks knowing that he has lied to me? Knowing that the video still exists and I am uncomfortable with it, and he doesn't have any intention to tell me. I had to discover it on my own. Am I making this a big deal? He apologized, but I still wasn't over it. What should I do? Should I forgive him? Should I believe him? Should this be a deal breaker? That flag couldn't get any redder if you covered it with ketchup. That was not okay what he did, and you cannot trust a person like that. Dump him before he makes you an involuntary porn star. Make sure he deletes the video off his phone, cloud, etc., and get away from him. He just ended things. I think I was love-bombed. I haven't cried yet. I guess deep down I know I shouldn't want someone who doesn't want me back. But this was the first time someone was worth breaking my solitude for in over a year, so I just don't know how I misread our connection. We met online but on opposite sides of the country. Since he made his first phone call to me, we spent a majority of our days on the phone or FaceTime. Even if we had nothing to say or if one of us was sleeping or busy at work, we just liked feeling close and being in each other's ear. I thought that was a good solution for a long-distance relationship. I did have a gut feeling of mixed signals. He hadn't said, "I love you," but was also looking at jobs in my city and places for us to live. I did say, "I love you" early, but I know my willingness to commit and unconditionally support and accept someone for who they are. However, I thought we were on similar pages because one time I told him I didn't want to be anyone else's but his, and he said, "Saying things like that makes me love you." And there was another time when I was acting silly, and he said, "It's your fault I'm falling in love with you." We did have some conflicts that were brought on by our past. We just both handled it differently. I knew his trust issues were just a part of him, and both times he tried pushing me away. I fought for him and even came up with solutions that made him feel at ease. They were working. But I also come from trauma, and had 2 instances where I was pushing him away. The first time got repaired within a few days, and the second time, he was just done with me. He wasn't willing to give me grace like I had with him. So he FaceTimed me for the breakup a few hours ago. He said we are incompatible and should work on ourselves alone and try again with people who live closer to us. But what's confusing is how he finally said it threw him off guard when I said, "I love you," and that I was the only one who got emotionally invested this whole time. I asked him how that was possible since he was looking at creating a life in my city, and he claimed that was a conversation that happened once. He also didn't really have an answer for the falling in love with you that I mentioned he said to me a few weeks ago. I understand I shouldn't be with someone who isn't willing to put in the same work as I was willing to, or isn't capable of giving me the same grace when my trauma kicked in as I had been willing to give him when his did. But I feel so confused on how mixed he was. How could he say everything he had said, spend so much intention on talking to me for so many hours each day, just to say in the end our connection was basically all in my head? LDRs are complicated, and the biggest issue is that you only know what they want you to know. It doesn't sound like you've met in person, so it's hard to truly know each other. It seems like he might be looking for someone closer, which is a tough but common situation in long-distance relationships. True love should put you at ease and never be confusing. A man who wants to be with you will make it clear to you and everyone else. My partner of 2 years emotionally cheated on me. Should I stay? Please help me with advice. Hi, I have been in a relationship with Brittany for 2 years. She has been the love of my life, and I truly felt like I was hers. We got together when her previous boyfriend and she had a rough time, and she found a safe place by my side. Over the years, I realized how different we are, but we really made it work. We sat down to talk about feelings and promised honesty and cooperation to make things work in the future. There was an opportunity for her to go on a week-long cruise at her university to Croatia to study and learn stuff there, but mainly just to relax a bit. She was mainly against it since she was scared of talking in English to the very famous foreign professors, but I convinced her to go so she can relax. Before leaving, we were very happy, or seemed like it at least. But after the cruise, during which she barely texted me and didn't express love or missing me, which was unusual, she acted very distant from the get-go. I picked up on this and started questioning what the problem was in a way that wouldn't feel pressuring. I knew something was wrong in my gut even though she told me otherwise. After 6 days of coming home, I've been quite a wreck. She didn't tell me she loved me once and was very distant. At one point I thought I heard her say, "love you," but then she corrected me that that wasn't it. Incredibly unusual. So she told me that during that week they were basically drunk every day, only sleeping 2-3 hours a night, and there was a guy with whom she really connected. She told me it wasn't love, just a fling or something, and they decided she loves me. So they won't do any kissing or anything physical. They exchanged "I miss you" messages after she got back. When she told me this, I was downtrodden, my heart shattered, and I closed myself up a bit. She didn't realize that during these 6 days and the whole trip week, I was hurting while not hearing from her because she was busy trying to get over him, but meanwhile neglected me. She shared with the guy details about our relationship and things she disliked about me. She was overall extremely honest, even painfully so. And when she realized after my reaction that this hurts me a lot and that I might break up, she was sorry, and apparently, she loves me. I feel like she only says that so I don't leave her. While I do believe that love can happen easily, I also believe it needs to be fed like a flame, so I consider her actions emotional cheating. I have left the house we live in and I'm now walking aimlessly in the streets since I'm so shocked. Please give me advice. Is this relationship salvageable, or should I trust my gut and end it? If my girlfriend can love someone in a week enough so she forgets about me, is it worth it? Thanks for the long read. She basically forgets you exist for the duration of the trip because she's too busy vibing with some guy there, then comes home more distant and less loving than ever. Don't be attracted by her PhD aura. It's not worth the heartbreak. She didn't miss you at all, but she's messaging the new guy about how she misses him. Yeah, she's done with you and you should be done with her. You'll find someone better. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.